I've wasted most of my morning trying to get Qwen 3 set up, and I had a lot of hopes. I was super excited when I saw Qwen 3 Coder beating all the benchmarks for coding and even Claude Sonnet 4. And I thought, man, China is really kind of coming back as far as like their AI models and stuff. And I just want to give you the long story short. If you're just here for that information, like, should I start to use Qwen 3 Coder? Is Cursor really cooked? Is Claude Sonnet, Claude Opus cooked? Is OpenAI cooked? I would say right now, no. Just chill for a little bit. But it does have a lot of potential, and it's showing me signs of some stuff that's really interesting. And part of the reason why I say it's not yet ready is because the tooling infrastructure is not yet ready. And so you need that stuff to be available in something like Claude Code. The Qwen Coder is currently forked from Google Gemini, and getting that set up and getting it going with an API key from Alibaba's Qwen console is kind of a nightmare. And I spent quite a bit of time trying to get that going. And even then I had a bunch of errors. So if you're like super curious and super tinkery and want to check that out, we're going to just kind of dig into a little bit as far as like the console and stuff. So this type of live stream is just going to be kind of walking through a little bit of some of the issues that I had. And then we're going to try to see if we can get this set up inside of Cursor using Cline and using that API key that I finally got from my thing. I tried a couple different inference providers and I just have a lot of slow speed. So I'll be able to show you what that looks like as well. And we're also going to go over the open web UI platform and how I use that to test the different models and the different API keys. Trust me, this is going to be like maybe pulling your hair out, but it's going to be okay. Like I think we're going to be okay. So let's just kind of dive right into it and start to kind of get cooking, folks. And so let's go ahead and take a look. So as of now, the way that I'm able to get this set up, if you're wondering about Qwen code, it's currently available in the GitHub here. So let me just kind of move this into this screen so you can kind of see what's going on. And let me just kind of make this bigger as well. So I appreciate everyone who's been able to join in on the stream as well. This is a current live stream and it's probably going to be a little quickie, but let me just pop this into the chat as well. Big shout outs to Tech Friend. He says, oops. Oh, augment code was happening, man. That's crazy. Y'all up in here in the building. Let's see. So this is actually where you would go. It's called Qwen LM, and then you can get access to Qwen code. So in Qwen code here is kind of where you'll have this information about this Qwen code interface. And in order for you to get started, one of the prerequisites is actually getting an API key. So if you're from mainland China, you would get it from here. And if you're from just not mainland China, just everywhere else in the world, you'd basically use this. So you notice it's going to Alibaba Cloud. That's kind of where you would get this type of thing. So when I do that to get my key, basically I ended up in this like model studio type of thing. And this interface is still fairly new to me because I've had to like sign up and get some credits. And so this could take you a little while once you do that. As far as pricing details for their Qwen 3 Coder Plus, right now the pricing details are showing as, I think it's like $1 or $2 per in. Let's see. Do they not have it listed? Oh, they don't have it listed. Yay. Okay, so this model is going to tell us that, okay, there's a ladder here, kind of like your taxes and stuff for the US, if you're familiar. You're going to be paying $1.5 per million tokens and 7.5 for the output. Bro. For between 0 and 32K tokens. So if you want to like actually have the like most people's, like if you're having actual decent size repo and going to be asking questions, you're probably going to be in this range here between 32,000 tokens to 131,000 tokens. So that's an input price of $2.7 and an output price of $13. That's pretty pricey. It's pretty much almost on par with Claude Sonnet. Man, that's pretty crazy. And then there's also another one, if you go a lot bigger than that, almost to 204,000 tokens. So that's the Qwen 3 Coder 480 billion parameter model. And this is the one where they actually have it, going through these different routing and stuff like that. So that's what you should say 35, the 35B part. Okay, so that's pricing wise in a nutshell. You see the pricing goes up even higher than the Claude Sonnet model because Claude Sonnet's like three per million input and then 15 for the output. And so now you're actually surpassed that once you break over 131,000 tokens. So that's kind of why I'm a little frustrated this morning because one, just getting this set up. But then when I was discovering the pricing here on Alibaba's website for hosting the model, their inference is really fast. So I'll show you what that looks like right now. If we go on to basically their chat Qwen website, I was able to make this quick game super fast. So I'm going to see if I can make it again. But basically, I was able to make this little space invaders with the neon thing. And so, I mean, I don't really make HTML games as a normal person. And I don't know, like, I see a lot of YouTube, like, people are prompting on YouTube very creatively, and they're making these things that are basically throwaway apps, which are cute. But for my workflow, I want to like solve real problems. But I just wanted to show you a little bit of kind of what something like this would look like and the speed, just as an example. So this is not something that I do normally, but if I just go ahead and add in a hit send, you can actually see it generate the code. It generates it super duper fast, which is pretty cool. So this is from Alibaba's inference stuff. So Alibaba is the one that's actually providing this directly from Qwen. And that's kind of what we're seeing here. So compared to like when I was using Kimi K2, like, you know, initially it was pretty slow, but Kimi K2 is picked up in speed. And so I want to show you what this looks like, but then I'll show you what the output is from comparing this to like Kimi K2 in Groq. And it is super fast in Groq. And I probably prefer, like if I were working with a model in terms of pricing, $1 per input, $3 for the output for Kimi K2, yo, I think that wins all day. And especially since it's hosted on Groq, I get that North American container hotness, and it's super fast from there. So that's, you know, it's still generating the game here. I'm going to show you the speed right now on Groq, and it's just going to blow your mind right now. But yeah, so this is generating the game on Qwen. And I mean, like, I don't know. I don't have a lot of time to waste on this thing. But yeah, let's just kind of open this up a little more. So here we are. Start mission. Yeah. Like, this is a pretty cool game. Try again. It's what I find interesting about this model that I was basically kind of running into is the fact that it is very good at design and kind of creativeness. And so I think that's really interesting in terms of maybe what the potential this model has for when the tooling is in place, when the inference in place, when like I want the Groks of the world to come and host this model in a North American container, because I think there's something here. And I want to try to see if I can integrate this into something called Tweak.sh. I don't know if you know this, but Tweak.sh.com. It will allow you to basically theme up like your ShadCN types of things, so you can start customizing this. The amazing part is that everything is actually done through like the web interface. And because of ShadCN and its whole coding paradigm, like you can actually just copy and paste this CSS file and replace it, just drop it right into your app. And then boom, you have like a nice themed app. And so where I'm going with this is that this app is open source. I have just forked this app. And so what I can do is use AI to talk and explain a theme or give it a screenshot, and it should be able to generate that screenshot for me, which is really cool. So if I go into generate and I want to remix or tweak things or upload an image, I should be able to do that. And I should be able to get some really cool, like futuristic UI types of things just from that alone. So like, I think it's just really cool that you can just kind of customize things. And, you know, this has light mode and dark mode. And this is going to be like a super essential tool in my tool belt to see if like I can find a really creative model to drive some of that UI behind the scenes in a programmatic way, so that I can, you know, prototype and make my apps and so forth. Because a lot of stuff that I generate using, you know, V0, you have to be really explicit with your prompting, but I do want to have some of these presets and have them very shareable in a community-like fashion. So that's kind of where I'm thinking where I'll use this model type of thing. And this is just kind of me getting started with this. And I just kind of wanted to give you a heads up of what that kind of looks like so far. And so, yeah, that's Qwen here. And that's Qwen Coder. If you want to go ahead and get started, it's you can actually just go directly to their GitHub website, and it's going to walk you through the instructions. Once you get your API key through here in the Alibaba Model Studio, it will take a little while, but you're also going to be paying those really premium prices for your coding. And if you do want to still pay those premium prices and then use them inside of like something like Cursor, one of the things that you can do here is actually just go to Cline. I have Cline set up as like an actual plugin. And if you go into the settings, you can actually select Alibaba Qwen as a provider. And the one you want to select is the international API. Once you get that API key, you just put it in here and you select the model Qwen 3 Coder Plus. and then you hit done. And then from there, all I did was just ask it, like, I want to understand this code base better based on the environment details, or like, please, or help me out or something like that. So that's basically what I did. And it just scanned my code base using the Cline app and then using the Alibaba endpoint. And so it just did a whole bunch of stuff. You used 21K tokens. And as you see, that whole request cost me about, was it a couple cents or something like that? 2 cents. Yeah. So, I mean, this is just a small amount of tokens, but the next chat, and as I keep getting bigger, you can kind of see where the levels get really high. So if you start getting into really long sessions here, you're basically just going to be paying Claude Sonnet prices. And at that point, I'm already paying, $200 a month for the pro plan. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. The tooling and stuff, I try to set this up in Claude Code and use these other types of things like Open Router or Open Code and so forth. And I didn't have a lot of luck getting them going to be proficient. There's a lot of bugs in the apps that I was trying out for the Open Code thing. And it's basically like a version of Claude Code, but you're supposed to have a bunch of other providers. And given the nature of like what I'm doing and wanting to move fast, since there already is a product that I use all the time, which is Claude Code, and it's already has a really good app, I just would recommend using that, myself. And a lot of people who follow me use Cursor, the agents, or use Claude Code for their agents and are really happy. The other thing I'm really interested about for Qwen is to see if we can host this on a really beefy machine. The problem though is that you're going to need 512 gigabytes of RAM to host this model on a machine. And I don't know if you've seen the prices at Apple. It's like 10K plus for a config like this. So you're going to have to drop like 10K when you can just probably rent GPUs like in a cluster and just have these running. You know what I mean? And have your own inference. But like at the same time, you can kind of see why this is a little bit like raw and not ready. Just because it's not ready for prime time use, and I'm may save you some time, it doesn't mean that the model is like not intelligent or anything like that. So that's kind of where I'm kind of coming back to. I'm saying like, I think there's some intelligence here. I think there's some design potential hidden inside of the model that I think can help us out. So I just kind of wanted to drop in really quickly and let you guys know about that. Maybe to save you some time, because you're probably looking at all these videos like, should I be able to get this set up? And other people are getting it set up, but I mean, for the price, I'd just rather use Kimi Moonshot, on Groq. I mean, Groq is fast. Yeah, so let me just show you that quick demo real quick. And so I think, is this the one? This is Kimi Moonshot on their API. And so let me just go ahead and show you what that looks like on Groq. So if I hit a new thing, I have Open Web UI set up, which is really cool. So this will allow me to talk to the various models here. So if I type in Kimi, so I'll do this one on Groq, and I'll literally put that same app that we're going to make. And I'm just going to show you the speed. It's just absolutely bonkers. It's so bonkers. Oh my God, this is crazy fast. Yeah. And this would not nearly cost me a fraction of the cost that it would if you were just using the Qwen model. Obviously, like these two are pretty top in terms of the models, and what they are for proficiency. But like, look at that, 645 lines. We just crushed that. So if I hit continue, oh, my bad. Yeah. So if I refresh this here, I should be able to, there should be a way to actually show the, preview. Here we go. Space Invaders game. Yeah. It's like the same type of thing. In fact, I feel like I like this game. That's sick. This is Kimi K2 on Groq, Groq, Groq with a Q. So yeah, if we go to Groq.com, this is fast AF infrastructure, and they're super cool. I love them so much. I really like their products, and their pricing is extremely reasonable. So the Kimi K2, for the 1 terabyte model, 1 terabyte parameters, the current speed is 200 tokens per second. That's fast. $1 per 1 million, and $3 per the output. You don't have any of this variable pricing type of thing. And we just saw how ridiculously fast it is just to run that type of thing there. So that's basically like kind of that in a nutshell, if you know what I mean. I mean, I don't know about you, but this is just like, damn. So I don't know, like we can, this is just a game example, by the way. This is not any other types of coding examples. And my workflow typically is just not making games all day because I got real work to do. So yeah. Leads ML says it's pricey. It doesn't make sense right now. I agree. Yeah, it totally is. Like, give it a few weeks. 10K is that all? Actually, you know what? Let's look up that model. So if we go to apple.com, let's go ahead and see how big of a Mac do we need to configure for this type of thing to run. So we definitely will need the actual like Mac Studio. So the Mac Studio, I think it's one of the few that will allow us to have 512 gigabytes of RAM. So if we go ahead and go to buy, let's see. So we have to get, I think it's the Ultra. So it's the M4 Max, right? M4 Max, one of them, Max or Ultra, I think, right? M4 Max. We scroll down, 512 gigabytes. So in order to get that model, I think we have to go, no, what does it say? The 512 is available with the M3 Ultra with 80 core GPU. So we have to immediately go to here. And then we can't even go to here. We have to get the next model up because I thought this was Ultra chip, but no, we have to get, oh, it's the 80 core one, not the 60 core, but the 80 core. So we had to add 2,500 to our cost. So we're already at 5,499 and we haven't even upped the RAM yet. So to get the RAM to 512 gigabytes, we have to add $4,000 more on top of that. So 9,499, we haven't even added taxes yet. By the way, how big is the model weight? When you have it that big, you're not going to want 1 terabyte because you're going to max out your whole machine. You're going to have to actually load the model weights. And if you have like, you know, that big of a model, you're going to need like at least, you know, a couple terabytes. So for me to be comfortable, you probably have to have like four terabytes, right? So that's already 10 bands, $10,000. And then if you're going to ball out, you can get that 16 gigabyte config. But if you're going to go spend already $10,000 on this machine and you're not going to max out the memory, I don't know what you're doing with yourself. You got to spend that extra money because you're already up here. You can't take out pieces and put in extra things. Sure, you can plug in extra SSDs and stuff, but like you then increase your chances of failures of those SSDs being external. And there's a whole bunch of stuff, by the way. But yeah, if you want everything to run really fast, you're probably going to need at least 4 terabytes, but we're already up at $14,000 with this price. Sure, you can get away with 8, and sure, you can probably get away with 4, but you're going to be squeaking on by, and this is not even installing your apps and installing anything else, right? So in your workflow, you're probably going to do 8 terabytes, 11K, like 12K basically. And so, yeah, that's not even including taxes yet, by the way. So if you do or display or anything else, you could just say add the bag. And then, yeah, you're going to be paying taxes on top of that. So that's like another 10, 20% plus some other fees and things like that because it's California and we love to tax people out for this wonderful weather outside, right? So you got to pay for this stuff and that's what it is. Luis says M3. Yes, you could probably do M3 as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at that too because like that'll be interesting. So if we go back to Studio, let's see, Mac, go to Studio. We go to Buy. We should be able to get the M3 Ultra with that similar config. So we go up in here. And then if we go down, it's going to say 512 gigabytes. So it's only available for the 80 core one, obviously. So we have to add 1,500. We add the 512 gigabytes. Now we're at 10 bands as well. But like I said, you're going to at least need like 4 terabytes up in here because you're still the same price. You know, like, I'm gonna have to up my membership fees if you know what I mean, just to get the. So you got to ask yourself, right? Am I going to spend $10,000 for a computer that like every single year or two, they're going to keep doubling the RAM every single year? Maybe these parameters get bigger, you know, like the data is going to get bigger. The scaling laws say that they're going to have to get bigger models and more data and more things. So 3 to 5 years from now, or even 2 years from now, everything is just going to double again, right? And the cost could still be the same, or maybe, you know, you add 40% or 30% to the cost, right? After about 5 years, maybe you have to double again in the cost. And you're like, well, maybe I could just lease it, right? I mean, there's just a lot of open questions and you're like, $10,000 towards compute could probably be a better use case, especially if you're just, you know, getting started or something like that. You don't necessarily need to put that much money down. If you're running machines locally, like for like a law firm or a medical type of service, you're already paying lots of money anyways, and it already has a lot of strict requirements. So you're probably going to consider that like that's probably an easy type of thing to think about. So yeah, just a FYI for those who are thinking. I don't think you can run a Mac Studio even with 512s unless it's quantized. Correct. Yeah, I think you have to quantize down to 4 So then that means you basically bring the like the availability of the RAM down. You can probably get 2 Mac Minis. So you spend $20,000, right? And so you can run it at the FP8, the full precision weights. And even then, it's pretty beefy. So I'm just kind of curious if I pop it into I have an app that can sort of try to do some calculations. And we're not even talking about like all of the context window length. So if you were to run like, 512 gigabytes of RAM and then you quantize it to 4-bit, you can probably fit something that has about 1 billion parameters, but then the context window is only 2048. So remember how I was showing you in the Alibaba things that were kept getting bigger. So a lot of times your context window you want to have, because this technically can have, I think it's like 1 million for the context window, but let's just say we want to have like 250,000 for the context window, right? So then at this quantization level, you can only get like about 770 billion parameters. So you may be able to run it with this type of quantization, but if you want to run it full on, the full precision, you're going to need a bigger machine than 512. Exactly what Alex was saying, right? So, to do that, you're going to be like, okay, what type of machine do I need? 768, maybe, so this 768 gigabytes of RAM will basically get you enough parameters plus a 250,000 token context window to run. So you need a couple of these guys on your network, and to basically run and kind of do the inference there. And that's already quite a bit of money. So if you're already spending like 10,000 some change, you spend like 5,000 for another machine or so, it adds up, man. This is so crazy. But with these types of things, like it means that we're possibly getting close. I mean, we're getting to a point where like GPT-4 was a standard. I remember a long time ago that people wanted this to run on their laptop. Like that was a whole goal, and so like now we can sort of get that now, like by default, without even sweating too much. We don't have to buy these $10,000 machines, but these other machines and other types of things are going to be, really interesting as far as where this is kind of taking us. And to have a machine like that running on your own compute cluster or running for your own company is interesting, right? So like there is something here to this model. Obviously, it's going to take a lot more setup, and if you're trying to, do some AI coding like we normally do, that's going to take you a little while to get that going. And so I would just say kind of wait it out a little bit because we're still super early getting on this. So that's what's up. Might as well use an inference provider. Yeah, Alex, I'm still having lots of issues getting set up. So if you can help me out getting set up with weights and biases, that would be super awesome. I'm just running into issues left and right. And the same thing with like Hyperbolic Labs, the same things, with these other providers, like even Qwen itself, like it wasn't super straightforward on the console to get all the stuff going from like even just the models being listed and then sending over and getting like empty body responses back. It's been kind of messy. So I'm not going to lie. That would be crazy. Would a PC be cheaper? What is a PC? I don't understand. My God. Yeah, you need clusters for sure. Daisy Chain 2 M2 M3 Ultras maxed out together for God tier mode for sure. That's the setup right now. There is a company, I forget their name, but they provide like inference like that in a data center cluster. They have these, I think it's called MacWeb, MAC Web. I'll show you. MacWeb. Yeah, I met these guys. They're really cool. They're based in the Bay Area. And these guys actually have clusters of Macs available that you can just, as soon as you buy or rent one in the cloud, you get SSH access and they give you an IP and it's like the full blown Mac, so you could just do whatever you want with them. And so, yeah, they have Mac Minis, they have Mac Studios, on-demand instances. So you basically just get one. And so whatever you want to do with any Apple computer, you pretty much have one available for you at any time, which could be really cool, right? So I think, what else do they have here? Optimized for popular developer stacks. What is their pricing like? Let's see. Services, Mac in the cloud. Let's just say we want a Mac Studio. Let's see how much RAM we can get. We can get a M2 Ultra up to 128 terabytes. What about Mac Mini? We can get an M4 Pro for 64 gigabytes. Okay, so they don't have like the crazy configs. Oh man, that sucks. Okay, compare all configurations. Let's see. The max memory I see is just 128 gigs for this guy. And that's it. So that's going to be a monthly cost of like basically $500 a month. Damn. See, you're going to pay somewhere, right? I don't see an easy story here. So yeah, that's an interesting thing. Holy smokes. Yeah. Personal computer, basically anything not from Apple. Oh, got it. Yeah, that's a PC. Nah, I don't do that here. No, I know a lot of people do. I actually was really funny. I was a big anti-Apple fan until I worked at Apple, right? Like I was huge into PCs. I was like, oh my God, the graphics cards. Oh my God, the configurations. I used to fix all kinds of bugs in Windows, like go through the kernel. Like it was kind of a nightmare, but because I knew how to do everything in Windows and like how to fix every single thing, how to regedit, how to remove rootkits and all that stuff, I was like doing, most of my job was literally antivirus, working on fixing people's machines to remove viruses because all kinds of clever stuff would happen there. I got so exhausted, and then I started playing with a Mac, and I was like, bro, what is this? Unix? Oh my God. Like, this is amazing. And then, started playing around with all that stuff. And then like I think for me, it was like Smalltalk and like the Bonjour networking stack that they all built up off of. And I started learning about the history of those machines and kind of all that stuff that came from Next. And I just started nerding out. And I was like, okay, why hasn't this been made more mainstream before? And I think that's really when everything started to turn. And for me, that was sort of the beginnings of the iPhone launch. And so that was kind of where, I got my start basically. And yeah, ever since then, I never really looked back. And when I do, I always kind of like feel bad for people. But I know it's requirements for certain things. And, I know that they're out there and, they sell millions of them. Obviously, it's not like it's bad or anything. And I'm not being pretentious or anything, but it's really funny how like the people from Apple like to be pretentious and stuff like that. So I'm trying to make fun of myself, if you know what I mean. It's just really not really how I really feel, because I love everyone. So PC or Mac, it doesn't matter. But I like to kind of poke fun at it, which is really cool. I also used to work there for like, this fruit company for like 12 to 13, almost 13 years. So yeah, Qwen overshadowed it, but HI Dream ETH1 was also released yesterday, open source. Bro, tell me more about this model. I want to know. Wow. Been with Apple since 1982. Damn. You're convincing me to buy a MacBook. Yo, the MacBooks go hard, man. I have a MacBook M3 used. Okay, so here's another tip. Let's go. Apple.com. If you go to the used store, most people don't know this, but I'm going to give you the sauce because okay, this just did not come from me. I talked to a friend. Let's just say this friend, his name is Ray. Or no, my friend, his name is Gray. Gray. My friend Gray was saying, if you go to the very bottom and go to certified refurbished, I'm going to give you some inside sauce here. When you buy any of these machines, it's like buying it brand new. Literally all the parts and everything come from the factory like a brand new machine. It gets certified even more than a normal machine, to be honest. And like everything is, the only thing that is different from buying a certified refurbished versus a new box is literally just the packaging, the box. That's it. So anything you can find in here is the deal of a lifetime. Like right now you can get a M4 14-inch. You can save like $240 straight out the get-go right here, right that. And I'll show you how to do this right here. So you just go, we're going to go to Mac. We're going to see if we can find like an M Studio or something. All we have to do is just go into like the memory. And then let's just see if we can get it like a really ridiculous machine. So 192 gigabytes. We can buy some of these older configurations here if we really wanted it. And let me just kind of make this a little bit smaller so y'all can see. So yeah, you can go up in here and just go crazy if you want to. You can do 120, like you can buy a M1 refurbished, which is also pretty fire, but buy the M3 one right here for $3,800. So you can hold on. You can get a 128. Hold on. Let's see. You can get that same machine that I currently have. I have an M3. Let's see. Wow. You can get a 14-inch for $3,859. 128. This is noise. Wow. Delivers tomorrow. So the specs are, you get the 16-core, 40-core GPU. You get 1 terabyte of SSD. You get 128 gigabyte of unified memory, which is what you need for some of these models. And you'll be cooking. That's nice. That's a really nice one. And you can buy Apple Care. Your Apple Care just lasts like normal. So yeah, that's what's up, man. This is crazy. So all of these machines, you could even get like a 16-inch one if you really wanted to. So yeah, like, let's just say you wanted to go like big guy, 16-inch, and then yeah. So this is basically what's available right now that you can get, and these different sizes will tell you like what their configurations are. For like, for example, this one's 4,379, and then this will get you 1 terabyte, 128 gig, 16-inch display. This is the max machine. You'll be cooking right here. Even for six bands, like we'll get you 128. You get 8 terabytes maxed out, and then you get that nice savings for 6,249, which is you don't have to pay. This is for the M4 Max chip, by the way, so you don't have to pay like $8,000 something like that. So that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. Image model. Oh my god. Yeah, everyone's up in here. Got a M4 Pro Mac Mini refurbished. Yeah, like it's probably just being beautiful. I've been hounding the refurbished for an M3, no dice, sadly. They cherish those things. Really? Oh man. Are you looking for like an M3 Studio? Is that kind of what you're looking for? I have an M3 Max that I might be willing to part with. I have a 128 gigabyte, 128 gigabytes of RAM and 8 terabytes of RAM for my SSD. I might be looking for a 512 Ultra Studio. You know what I mean? I'm trying to flip this up. So yeah, that's what's up, man. This is absolutely bonkers. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish I had more for you right now, but stay tuned because as the tooling continues to improve, I just didn't really want to waste your time for hours and hours going through these configurations and kind of, banging my head like I did. And so that's just kind of like our hangout here for Qwen. There is something there. If you're a curious engineer, I'm not going to stop you from going in because there is some cool stuff in there that you should be using this thing and trying it out because you can be able to pull some intelligent stuff out of there. You best believe that I'll be tinkering with it on the background, but it's not ready for like a everyday coding workflow that I could just slide it right into like Claude Code Router or like Open Code and just really start cooking because of the speed and also because of the cost right now for the inference is pretty high. So you're going to be paying quite a bit for that inference cost, and if you're going to be working for for looking for outputs that are going to be higher than like 15K tokens or 20K tokens, you're going to be paying a pretty penny on Alibaba's hosting inference platform. So that's what's up. Dang, give me $200 for it. You mean $200 for just the fee? Yeah, that's what's up, man. Cool, man. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining. Y'all know what to do when I do this little dance, and I will see you in my next live stream tomorrow. I'm going to be at Cloudflare's offices today, so I might do a live stream from there. And so we'll be doing that type of thing. I'm going to be playing around. If you haven't seen my stream with the AI robot where we put Groq 4 into its whole thing and it just actually started cussing immediately, that robot's going to be there today. And this is the whole AI voices and agents at Cloudflare's offices. So I'm going to pull up. I'm going to try to talk to some folks. I'm going to see if it's okay to film. And so you'll just see like a raw live stream of me hanging out and interviewing people with that robot and my friend Butoshi, who's the one who actually has that robot and all of his crew. So that'll be really fun. That's tonight. And then tomorrow, going to be in San Francisco, hanging out, meeting with a lot of folks. I was supposed to meet with the Cursor folks yesterday, but I'm actually meeting with them tomorrow and meeting with a bunch of folks like AMP, Code. And then also I'm going to do another live stream from a remote location at a cafe. There's this new cafe that's opening up that'll basically be open after hours because a lot of people who code, a lot of coffee shops start closing at 5 or 6 because they don't want a lot of like people around and stuff like that. So this cafe is going to be open much later. And it's kind of geared towards founders and people like us who are building apps in the Bay Area, in San Francisco more specifically. So it's a really cool spot, and I'll be able to meet the founders and interview them. So that's like tomorrow at like 4 or 5-ish or something like that. So stay tuned for the live stream. I think it'll be really fun. And then this weekend, I have a members only live stream for those who are interested. If you are a member, I will be doing a members post, and we're just going to be going over some app building stuff, like how I get started with Convex and how I build some apps. I have a couple of app ideas on the fly that I want to show you. I also have this cool workflow that I did with Claude Code I'm going to show you that right now because this is something really cool that I did just like before, like really early in the morning before the stream and before everything when I woke up. So I do this thing. A lot of people have really asked me, like, how do I make the prompts? Like, how do I make these really nice, lengthy, descriptive prompts? That's something I'm going to cover for my members, but I want to give you a quick peek of how this kind of really happens here. So I pop in because I have the max plan. I bought the max plan because I love Claude Opus as a model, and it's like the best, especially for writing tasks. So one of the things that I do is basically I feed it in my video transcript of like a short video that I have. And I want to make these nice little posts from them that actually make sense based off the content. And so I basically told it to analyze the video and like, gauge my authenticity for the voice. And it basically goes through and tries to come up with like I'm trying to say it can just basically just give me a title. And once it gives me a title or something I really like, I was like, okay, this is the output I want. And because this is a chat, I'm just going to continue asking questions. So the next thing I was like, okay, this is absolutely brilliant. And just like with the first option, now I want you to give me stuff for like a TikTok post, YouTube, and so forth. But like I needed you to also do a little bit of research and understand what's the current trend for 2025 for these platforms. And so this is really important because down below, you see this little research button. This is something that Claude offers now, and it lets them look at the web. And so what it does is it checks 195 sources for this specific request, which is really amazing. So I have a workflow that I just started. I had an example. I had to basically generate an example, and I really liked it. Since I really liked it, I was like, I want to move forward into these other platforms, and I needed to do the research, right? So I have the smartest model going on the internet, now researching for me with some examples in my previous chat, right? So that's why it's really important to prime the model and ask these types of questions. It's sort of like this exploratory prompting that I was doing. And so from there, it basically creates a research plan. So like, this is how it broke down the research plan using the Opus model. And this is all the sources it gathered, right? So it's just absolutely crazy that it went through all of these sources, just insane amount of sources. And then it comes back with a whole bunch of research and a whole plan. So like, this is the whole research that it did. And you're like, wow, this is really cool. It's useful for me. I typically would take notes from it, but then I just said, this is brilliant using these trends, whatever, like, can we just give instructions to another language model, like so that I can hand that off, and whenever I have a transcript to be able to generate that. So it generated its first plan here, which is what we see in this very long detail. And it even like took all of the learnings from all of that research report and then generates a specific prompt for it. So typically, like I would have to go back and forth between, Perplexity or some other type of thing and have it do this research and copy and paste it in. This is all done just within Claude Sonnet, which is just totally amazing. And so it generated this prompt. This is like an entire prompt. I just give it to Claude Opus to just let it do its thing. It generates its own checklist, like all of this stuff. This is really, really cool, right? So these instructions, I had to do a second iteration because I didn't really like some of the tone. And then it came back with an even like crazier like fix. Opus is so good at doing its own corrective like tool calling and even fixing itself midway as it's going through all these lines of these instructions. And then it came up with like my final instructions to generate things. This is now turned into what I call like the Claude project. So if you go to a project, you can create a new project. And so I call it multi-platform shorts. And in here is where you put in all that product knowledge. So that big prompt that it generated for me gets all up in here. And then all I have to do is create a new chat and just give it the transcript. Here's the transcript from the following video. And then it gives me a Twitter post, a TikTok post, a YouTube shorts, the description for the YouTube, Instagram reels. And it follows a really good, architecture of things. I would typically have to do all these steps by hand, especially for every video. And I had to kind of come up with back and forth. But now pretty much just does it in one shot, and I could just kind of correct it as I go or just give it some more guidance. And just like that, I have this mega prompt that I just generated. So that's kind of like a high level overview. And it's something that I actually posted on my Discord for my members to go through. And then something I'll also be covering this weekend of like, and I want to turn this into a real app, an app has to have a really good prompt like that so that you can actually add value into people's lives. This is a real problem that I have as a content creator. I have these transcripts and I want to turn them into, these headlines and these different descriptive things, but I don't want it to sound like everyone else, right? I want to leverage the latest trends. I want to do these types of things. So I can take this prompt, and now this is the basis for my new app that we're going to go ahead and generate on Saturday. And then I can show you how, just passing in one transcript will generate these results. And so that's kind of like the basis of these types of things. And, these are the workflows you have to do to, like, you treat your prompts like gold, right? Like these types of things add value to people's lives. And all it is just English instructions, right? I didn't write those instructions. A language model did that. That's smarter than me that does. So like, that's the value here that I try to bring. And I know this is not about the Qwen stuff we talked about, but this is just kind of me live streaming and talking to y'all live because we're chilling here. So yeah, Lisa, how's it going? Hand purple face piece. Yeah. I think most of the people left, but it's okay. Y'all who are hanging out here have made it this far are some real ones, and I love you guys for this. Yeah, I always drop knowledge like this all the time, and I feel like everyone's participation really kind of makes it special. And I want to just give a big shout out to everyone who's become a member so far. It's just $6.99. We've made it to 70 plus members now. Once I get to that 100 member mark, I'm just going to go ahead and double the price. So we go from $6.99 and basically go to like almost $14.99 or $15 or something like that. And what's going to happen there is basically the access to Discord. Just we'll just keep kind of going through those types of things. So it's an amazing milestone that we've been able to make it this far. I mean, I literally started this channel like a year ago and some change to like really start posting. And then my live streaming stuff has just been something that I started doing this very frequently for my summer of streaming. So I try to stream every single day for the summer here and giving you some knowledge and so forth. So even if you're not a member or anything, it goes a long way if you just share this with a friend because they could find some value or something like that. After the video, I will have timestamps in the video that you can go back and review. And this is something that I'm currently building as an app as well. And I'll be launching this with, in Ray Transcribes as a feature. So that's what's up. The open source model are getting closer to the paid ones. Do you agree? It's fascinating. It depends on your use case, really. I find so much variability in the open source models that like you have to tweak. You have to know a specific model. You have to know its specific parameters and temperature and prompting style and all these types of things. So that's kind of the biggest variable for me. That makes it really exhausting to keep up. And so even with a model that tests really well, I still have to understand what are the best parameters for coding. What are the best parameters for a workflow that I just did with Claude Opus, where I didn't really have to like spend a lot of time of that, So Leads ML, I agree that intelligence may vary, but it's really for me workflow. If a workflow takes half a day or 2 days to get set up, and then it works, that's cool. Like I'll hire someone to do that and then get that going. Is that transferable to someone else if I give them the same instructions? Maybe, right? But my workflows keep evolving, right? Like this projects thing wasn't a thing last year, right? With all of these models, there was not this concept of a projects. I was literally copy and pasting prompts and letting them do their things. And now we have this, this space to do that. And so the tooling, the infrastructure to leverage that, like the intelligence of these models also needs to be there. So that's kind of what's missing in open source right now is like open web UI is a really nice bridge, right? It's like my own version of a ChatGPT. It has projects. It has a lot of different things and a lot of this tooling to help me get there, which is really nice. And that's kind of why I like using it for testing these models. But can I do the same workflow? I don't get the same results right now. I don't get the same results for content creation, literally text and all that stuff. Claude Opus is just the absolute craziest as far as consistent writing styles, changing writing styles, understanding what I'm trying to say to it. But for coding, it can vary, right? So I like Sonnet a lot for coding. I like, there's just certain fields of certain models or certain problems it tackles. If I'm writing Swift code, no model gets that right now. Like, dude, like it sucks. But there isn't a lot of that available, right? And so, yeah, I think really it's a multifaceted question, right? So configurations is a big deal. Tooling around the open source models and like actually leveraging workflows are another big deal, right? and like deploying them and like inference. Like, are you going to, use a provider that's hosted, or are you going to use something that's local? Is it fast enough? If the machine is down, is there another machine I have to get? All of these factors come into play. And, for me, I'm just going to go for whatever is easy to do for the cost, $200 a month for my coding, all of the tooling, all the web stuff, like it just seems to compound that way for now. But yeah, I mean, I like open source. I'm not saying I'm down on open source, but we need this too on the open source side. And I hope that people can make really good tools that are as good or if not better. And then I also hope that the inference problem can also be a little bit easier, right? I just want a one-click config to play, right? So like that's just kind of where I think things should go. So yeah. All right, thank y'all. And I will see y'all maybe tonight. Peace out.